right, we are live on YouTube. Let me find Barry and make him co-host.
I guess I don't have good lighting here.
All right, we are live on YouTube.
So maybe this will be better. I don't know.
Dan, could we get some instruction on how to change our indicator?
Name, yes. And then we can share it continuously as people come in. In the top right-hand corner of your picture, I believe you'll see a thing that says rename. If it's not there, under participants, all right, find yourself under participants. You might see an option to rename yourself.
I don't see a part. Oh, okay. All right. Let me see if that'll do it.
And anybody who figures out how to rename themselves, please do so. Very short is to be commended for coming in appropriately named in the first place.
Yeah.
Carolyn Wade, I'm going to bring in. I'm not sure if she's going to be promoting, though. She was the delegation chair and primarily who I had interactions with. So we'll get her in and ask her real quick. And I think...
I see that YouTube video.
1 second, guys. I'll be right back in the Zoom meeting. I'm trying to post the link on our Region 1 discussion groups. That way, if people are waiting for it there, they have it.
Sounds good. In the meantime, I'm going to give a piece of cake to whoever first figures out how to rename themselves and can tell everybody else in the group. And if you want to see what you should be named like, look at Barry Short, how he put in his 2-letter state code and then a D for delegate for his first name. You know what? Maybe I'm a liar. Maybe I did not set it so you guys can rename yourself. I'm a liar. All right, now you can rename yourself.
So where do you do? Well, I'm not going to do that, but where would you do that?
Let's see. I believe now it will be available to you in the participants part of the meeting.
My experience with other meeting platforms is that the organizer or the meeting convener needs to do that changing of the designation of the participants. So
it's a security level thing.
Yeah.
Alexis, did you figure it out? Good job. How did you change your name?
So you click on your picture, there's a little 3-dot thing in the corner of your
Oh,
you click on it and you click rename.
Right.
I see.
Oh,
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Ta-da!
Well done. I owe Alexis cake. Mr. Lucchini, you are in under a completely fake name.
Maybe it can be a virtual cake or something.
All right.
And if we can promote Mr. Lucchini if we've not already.
Yeah, I'm promoting Mr. Lucchini to co-host. Everybody who is a state chair, please look in the waiting room. And if you see somebody who is a member of your state delegation, you please admit them.
I'm also admitting Francis, if we could promote him just as the alternate to help with some of that.
Yep, will do.
Is the meeting room or waiting room?
So the waiting room will be if you open up your participants menu on the right-hand side of the screen. The top part is the waiting room, and you can admit from there.
Exactly. So I'm promoting Sid to co-host and Francis to co-host. And so if you guys see anybody from your respective delegations, or Francis, you're just, you know everybody. In the waiting room, please feel free to admit them. People who are feeling left out because you don't have a cool 3 letters in front of your name. In your picture, there's 3 dots. Click on that, choose rename, and please change the first 3 letters of your name to be your 2-letter state code, and then D or A for delegate or alternate. And this does a couple of good things. For one thing, if you go over to the participants list, you see how many people there are. If you want to type in now CO, you will see everybody from Colorado. So we have search on code, And that's a very useful thing for us to do. Tom, man, I think that message is just for me. I'm special.
It was quite nice.
Eric, will Victoria be joining us today, or will you be acting as the delegation chair for the moment?
I just let Victoria in, by the way.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Then we need to get Victoria
I'll
promoted.
find Victoria.
She should be here.
Dan, did you say something that it was by state somewhere?
So we're asking everybody to change your name, and the way to do it is to click into the your picture, the 3 dots, and you'll see a thing that says rename. Rename yourself so that the first 3 letters of your name are like if you look at Arizona Delegate Richard Longstreth up the front, the 2-letter state code, and then D or A for delegate or alternate. Most people are getting along there pretty well. In fact, I haven't done it yet, and so I'm going to rename myself. But I am not here as a delegate, so
I'm bringing in Libertarian Party Oregon chair. I believe that is Timothy, so we'll need to get him promoted.
All right. And I promoted Victoria. So if you are a state chair, please look through the waiting room. And if you see people from your delegation, bring them in.
I've also admitted Jason Smith. He's the Nevada state chair and will need to be promoted.
All right. Smith. Jason Smith is now a co-host.
Okay.
Just so everybody's aware as well, there is a YouTube link. If you go in the top left, I believe you can copy the streaming link right there. Or if you go to the Libertarian Party's YouTube page, you can grab that there. I know some people didn't want to come into the Zoom meeting necessarily because we're essentially just voting. So if people wanted to pay attention and just watch candidate speeches and that sort of thing, YouTube is probably the easiest way for them to stream that rather than jumping in necessarily to the meeting. So feel free to share that around.
So how would we know if one of our delegates is on YouTube?
Well, I mean, I trust you that you guys verified that in advance when you sent me the email list saying that these people would be attending. So I assume they're either attending with a group of people at a remote location, or they're streaming on YouTube, or something along those lines, or they'll be dialed into this meeting. So just like we did with the national convention, we're taking words on who's going to be there and who's participating based on the input you guys gave us.
Richard, can I ask a question, and then I'll mute myself. In the email that came out yesterday, there was an alert to using Election Buddy for polling purposes, I guess, and I haven't seen any additional communication about that, and I'm just wondering how that might be going to work.
Yep. So Howard got me the email addresses for Arizona. And so your email address is on there. I've given that information to Dan Fishman. When we are ready to ballot, he will send out a ballot and it will hit your email box to vote on that ballot.
Okay. I just didn't know if we were going to use Slack or,
Nope.
some kind of, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Can the people in the waiting room hear us?
No, they cannot. Not right now.
Did we just admit them all? There's 9 people waiting. 10, make that 9 again.
So
Ideally, a
you're
state chair will know who they are and admit them.
If you know who they are, by all means, you're welcome to admit them. That's why we promoted the state chairs to host, to try and help out with some of that, so that way we don't get griefers in if we can help it. If we do get griefers in, I will pause and simply get rid of them if that's what we need to do.
There's Jason, who may or may not be one of mine, so no last name.
And I think I saw Mary Gert come in. That is who's going to be promoting or admitting people for Kansas, along with Ned Kelly. So if either of those two are in, we can make them both co-hosts. I know I saw Mary. I don't know that I've seen
Ned.
Okay.
Yeah, I just saw Ned.
Yep. Ned is in as co-host. Mr. Mann, I see that you have fully renamed yourself. We appreciate that. Would you care to repeat the renaming instructions for everybody else?
Okay, so the renaming, guys, if you guys go over to the participants list and go next to your name, you will be able to rename yourself. If you name yourself your state abbreviation and then a D or an A to indicate delegate or alternate, that would help us be able to search and help the state chairs identify who is here in the actual Zoom meeting itself. So if you look at my name, it says AZD Richard Longstra. That is kind of what we are looking for. Let's go ahead and I'm just now admitting Data Logan. He will be acting for Washington to act as a gatekeeper for us.
All right. Mr. Logan is made co-host.
Hello, Wes Pinchot here.
Wes.
I'll mute now.
And for those of you that have come in that haven't quite renamed yourself, if you can look at kind of how a lot of people have named themselves already with the state abbreviation and a D or A following, just to indicate which state you're from and whether you're a delegate or an alternate. That will help sort through things and make things easier for some state chairs to find you. I've got a Kansas delegate, Jason. I don't have a last name though. There's still a Brett Borden in the waiting room. I've got this one and Anthony Harwood. So state chairs, if you see anybody in that waiting room area and you know who they are, go ahead and admit them.
Hey, John Watts, the Alaska State Chair. So
let me find John. John is now a co-host.
Excellent.
I see one more in the waiting room, but it says joining. So if that goes through, okay, there we've got another one. And so state chairs, as people come into these meetings, if we are in the middle of it and you see them pop up and you want to go ahead and see them and let them in, I would appreciate that. If I recognize the name, I will do that myself. But if I don't know who they are, I will leave them in there and leave that to you guys.
This is Roger Roots. I'm a delegate from Montana.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have to type that in myself somehow?
I've got you, Roger. I'll go ahead and do that for you. Got you fixed. There you are, sir.
Thanks.
Got you, Roger. I'll go ahead and do that for you.
Anybody know who Karenification's iPhone is?
Nope.
That's Karen Ann Harlos.
Oh, is she going to make it? Okay.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so. She's traveling right now, but maybe she's between flights right now.
Okay. Dan, we'll need to add her
Yep,
back to the, thank you. Yep.
I added her.
And on the ballot list, right? That's what I just want to make sure.
Oh, to the ballot list. No, I will add her for that as well.
Yeah, originally she wasn't going to be.
Right. I'll add one more.
So.
All right.
All right, we've got Craig DaCosta and Layla Bush, and I'll get there in just a second. Unless somebody else gets them first.
Yeah, I'm on my layover and was able to come.
Fantastic, fantastic. So you'll get an email ballot just so that you're aware, and since you're able to participate, that's great. When it's time.
Is it OPA vote?
It will be Election Buddy actually running through the national account.
And you did get my delegate list off the Civ CRM.
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
No, but I'll go get
it. Yeah, you're supposed to pull that one, Dan. I gave that to you in Messenger yesterday, but I forgot.
I'm on it. I apologize. Just
no
take
worries.
a second.
No worries.
That's why we're doing it early.
Yep. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate that. There's a strategic bushcraft in the waiting room. Okay.
He's one of mine.
He's one of yours. Lovely. Outstanding. So, folks, if you've not renamed yourselves already, you are encouraged to do so. If you look at the way everybody's name is kind of formatted, you will see a state abbreviation followed by a D or an A indicating delegate or alternate. If you just put that in front of your name, that will allow state chairs to see who is present at a quick glance, and we'll just kind of help things out there. Get John in here. All right, we've been so far open for about 20 minutes. We're getting a couple more people. This Ryan Tracy, I believe is Tracy Ryan, Hawaii chair, and you'll need to promote her.
Will do.
Ryan Tracy is actually Ryan Tracy. He's an Oregon delegate.
Fantastic. Okay, so disregard
Good note.
that. All right, folks. So while people are still coming in, we will go ahead and get started. First things first, just want to let everybody know that the only business that is being done at this caucus is to hear from those who are going to be nominated for the regional representative or regional alternate roles. We will allow them 10 minutes of speaking time. However, if we could get some to mute, I'm sorry.
Karen Ann, we're picking up the public address system.
I don't know how to do that, so thank you, Dan. Appreciate that. Or somebody did.
Wasn't me, somebody else did, but whoever did it, you're permanently promoted to that job.
Congratulations. So, guys, what we're going to do is we are going to what we've had a number of people self-nominate. So for representative, we've had Craig Bowden self-nominate, Alex Flores, Chris Lucchini, and Francis Went all self-nominate. What I want to know is there anybody else who is seeking to self-nominate, or are there any other recommendations for Region 1 representative? And
Could I get that list again, please?
Yes, it is Craig Bowden,
Yep.
Alex Flores, Chris Lucchini,
Hang
and
on.
Francis Went.
Right. I assume, of course, we have NOTA for every election.
Of course, yes.
All right. Craig Bowden, Alex Flores, Chris Lucchini.
All right. I am
And-
not see.
Sorry, the last one.
Francis
Craig,
Went.
Alex, Francis Went. So let me
Yep.
say something quickly about Election Buddy for those of you who are using it. The candidates' names appear in random order, and it will be different on every person's ballot. So when Chris is lobbying you and he says, vote for the third person on the ballot, he's actually not telling you good advice, because the third person on his ballot will be different from the third person on your ballot. So please read the choices carefully. In some cases, NOTA might be the top of your ballot because it randomizes the order on every ballot.
Very good point. All right. So I am looking to probably give it just another 2 minutes to see if we have anybody else come in. But so far, nobody has had any other nominations. Going over who we have already for alternate that's self-nominated. We have David Hellman of Arizona, who has self-nominated himself. And so far, nobody else has declared. What my intention is to allow all of those who are running for the representative role, if they do not prevail, the opportunity to step into the alternate election if they choose. That is not a requirement, but if they choose to do so, give them that option. And in both cases, what we will do is we will allow all candidates to speak for 10 minutes. They do not have to speak the entire time. They may have others that they wish to speak on their behalf. I will be keeping a timer on my cell phone. If there are interruptions, I will pause the timer and I will be as fair as I absolutely possibly can in order to try to make sure that everybody gets the same amount of speaking time. So please be aware of that. I will call attention when we are at 9 minutes. I'll say 1 minute remaining. That way the candidates and everybody knows. I will leave it to the candidates to ask if there are multiple speakers on their behalf. I will leave it to the candidates to decide who goes in what order and how that is decided. And your 10 minutes will be going that entire time. So please be aware of that. Other than that, folks, once we are done with all candidates' speeches, for the representative, we will send out the election buddy ballot. The way the regional agreement reads is everybody will be voting via approval voting with NOTA on the ballot, of course, which means you may vote for as many or as few candidates as you like. Everybody except for Alaska and Montana will be receiving an election buddy ballot. Alaska, you will need to communicate your votes to John. In Montana, you will need to communicate your votes to Sid. Once we have the election buddy results, we will get the results from both Alaska and Montana, add them to the results from the election buddy, and then we will be able to hopefully declare a winner. If we need to, we will go on to a second ballot. There is a maximum amount of ballots on this of 3 ballots, so be aware of that. And the requirements are that a candidate must receive majority support and must be the prevailing candidate in order to be elected. Are there any questions on what our election procedures are at this time? Cool, that's very easy. Oh yes, John, go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question. Will for ourselves, will we get a form for the candidates that we had like in the national that we can turn around and email back, or
no,
how should I communicate those to you?
What I'll do is you can either send me a Facebook message. I can call on you here in the meeting and get it separately. Whatever the preference is, we will make sure that gets communicated and added to the results. So how would you prefer to do it, I guess is the question.
Yeah, well, the first thing you said was Messenger, so I can just send it that way if it's easy.
That's perfect. And Sid, is that okay with you to communicate that through Messenger?
Roger that, directly to you.
Yep, that'll be perfect.
Okay.
All right, very good. So at this point, we are now at 2:17. We're going to go ahead and one more call. Are there any other nominations aside from the 4 who self-nominated at this time for Region 1 representative? All right, very good. What I have done is I have put all 4 numbered on my paper here in a random or in an alphabetical order. I'm now going to use a random number generator, AKA a dice, to roll and see who will be going first. So I have Craig Bowden as number 1, Alex Flores as 2, Mr. Lucchini as 3, and Mr. Went as 4. And the first person up is number 2. So Alex Flores, if you will, please go ahead and begin your 10 minutes, and I will start the timer once you. Mr. Flores? Alex, I know I saw you in the room here.
I sent him an unmute request.
Okay.
There we go.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So Dan, are we going to need to manually unmute?
Nope. Nope.
Okay. All right, Alex, if you want to go ahead and begin your 10 minutes, we'll hear from you first.
Sure, thank you. Good afternoon, fellow delegates, and thank you for your time and your commitment to this party for being here. And thank you to Richard and all of our state chairs for hosting this meeting. And thank you to those who will be tabulating the votes today. I grew up here in Region 1 in Phoenix, Arizona. The last 15 years, I've lived in 4 of the states in our region. I've come to know so many new friends and allies in our fight for a world set free in our lifetimes. I've worked on several campaigns and ballot initiatives, collected signatures, and pounded in signposts in the rain and snow, gone to protests, volunteered my time to other worthy causes. In the last decade, I've spent learning about my heritage and getting to know the deep roots of our region. I've come to love the Native American tribes that I've served and worked with. So many diverse new people are becoming interested in this party and what can be achieved through principles of freedom and non-aggression. In the last years, my focus has largely been on growing the party. That effort really began for me in 2016 and laying the groundwork for developing new county affiliates in my home state of Arizona. Even as I worked on campaigns in other states, such as my work as a field coordinator for Gary Johnson's 2018 Senate run, I focused on trying to spread the principles of this party. My area encompassed several Native American tribes, so in my efforts to campaign, I began to get to know more about the Native communities that surrounded me. And when I talk about the message of sovereignty and self-ownership, people responded. One tribe in particular I've worked with over the last several years has been the Navajo Nation. Nowhere else in my life have I felt such unity and love as I did amongst the people of the Navajo land, which is why it hurts me so much when I learned of so many of the struggles that they face. The worst part is that although the sovereign nation covers more land area than 10 US states, they have no voice in our federal government or any of our major political parties. Systemic racism is legislated over them through Title 25, and yet they have no say in the process of how those laws are made or voted on in Congress. And that's what brings me to this point in my run for this seat. My focus on growth of this party has led me several times to confronting the stigma that we are not a very diverse party. I'd like to help change that by bringing in fresh blood, new ideas, and much needed diversity to the board of this 3rd largest and fastest growing party in the country. We're in a unique position that, as that growing party, to give a voice to millions of Americans in a way that never has been done before, while simultaneously shattering that stigma. I aim to do that by forming new affiliates in the next 2 years, one of which that is already provided, although it's already provided for in our bylaws, once established, will become the first of its kind in our country, the Navajo Nation Libertarian Party. If successful, the Navajo Nation could see its first slate of national delegates seated at a national convention to participate in a presidential candidate nomination in 2024. For too long, Native American voices have been silenced and left out of the political process that governs this country. If our voices held no power, they would not try to silence us. Libertarians know the struggle of being silenced by our government all too well. As a party of Russell Means, who once said, "If I want my people to be free, Americans have to be free." We've carried the message of unity and inclusiveness since our founding in 1972, and I'd like to help bring some of that diversity to the governing board of the party. I commit to being transparent to the members and the state chairs of this region. I'll maintain open lines of communication to ensure adequate and fair representation of the diverse and unique constituencies that we have. And I commit to attending all meetings and working with the alternate to ensure adequate and responsive representation for all the states in our region. And I commit to growing this region to the point that we're going to have to split it up in 2024 because we'll be too big. My great uncle Geronimo once said, "I was no chief and never had been, but because I had been more deeply wronged than others, this honor was conferred upon me, and I resolved to prove worthy of the trust." I resolved to prove worthy of your trust, and I humbly ask for your vote to be your representative. Thank you for your time. Live free.
All right, thank you, Alex. I appreciate that, as I'm sure many people do. That was under 10 minutes. And of course, our candidates do not need to have the full amount of time used. So thank you for that, sir. We'll go ahead on to the next candidate. So now on the fancy randomizer, 1 and 2, we'll go to Craig Bowden. Yes.
For a moment, some of my delegation says there's a 100 participant limit on this Zoom. Is that a hard limit, or can we change that?
Deferring to Dan, if he's available.
I'm here. Let me see. Where are we on participants? It's not supposed to be a hard limit of 100. Let me see.
I think that's just how many are in.
Yep. I will. I can work on that. I think if people are speaking, we can still be watching on the YouTube. I can work on that while this continues.
Okay. So go ahead and give them the YouTube link. I will paste it in the chat again, so that way they can still view while Dan works on that in the background. So it is now in the chat if you need that link. Go ahead and grab that. As I was saying, we'll go ahead and go on to our next candidate. For my dice, I have assigned 1 and 2 to go to Craig Bowden, 3 and 4 to Chris Lucchini, and 5 and 6 to go to Francis Went. The next person speaking is... It's going to be Craig Bowden with a roll of 2. So, Mr. Bowden, if you would like to begin your 10 minutes, I will start the timer when you begin speaking.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, you are good to go.
Okay, perfect. Well, first of all, I appreciate everybody that has tuned in today. And I guess I need to make the case for why I should be Region 1 rep. And the reality is that Region 1 isn't about the representative. It's about the activists that are on the ground. You know, the people who are actually collecting petitions, people who are running for office, things of that nature. And that's been one of my primary focuses when I actually was on the LNC as the Region 1 alternate, was trying to highlight those activists, those individuals who are pounding the pavement and putting in the hard work. You know, everybody knows who the presidential candidates are, you know, some of those higher profile Senate and House races, things like that. But in a lot of cases, we don't really get to see what is going on the ground. And so I would like to continue with that trend that I had started when I was the alternate. Beyond that, I have outlined a couple of things that I'm committed to doing, aside from what the obligations of the Region 1 rep are. And I'd say the number one priority for me is continuing to make sure that we have budgets that are in the black. It seems like we end up on the brink a lot, and I'd like to make sure and work with the other members of the board to have fiscal solvency within the party so that we don't have to worry about you know, teetering on the edge, actually have mechanisms in place to take care of our party and its membership. Another thing that I am really big on is making sure that state affiliates and county affiliates are getting the support that they need. And so I am committed to being able to be there as often as I can, and at least speak on behalf of the resources that they very much need. Another really big one for me is boosting the support for projects like the Libertarian Frontier Project. We're targeting races so that we can get more wins, which translates to more people getting excited about our party, the way that we're all excited about our party. And to do that, we do need to get some wins in the column. So when we have people like Apollo Pizzell that are winning city council seats, or Sid Dowd, and so on, we end up in a situation where we're really able to motivate people and inspire people, because we're starting to put libertarian policies in effect in these cities, towns, and you know, counties throughout the country. And I think Region 1 will be able to step up and really be effective with projects like the Libertarian Frontier Project. So that's why I really want to focus on those kinds of things. Aside from that, I've been an activist in the party for almost 10 years. I've obviously sat on the board temporarily, although circumstances did make it so I couldn't continue anymore, but those lovely life circumstances no longer exist. And so I'm just humbly asking everybody to consider voting for me when the time does come. And I do thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Bowden. I appreciate that. We will now go on to our next nominated candidate. So for this purposes, Mr. Lucchini will be 1 through 3 on my die. Thank you, everyone. And Mr. Wendt will be 4 through 6 on my die. So at this point, I rolled a 6. Mr. Wendt, you will be our next speaker. Your 10 minutes will begin when you do.
All right. Thank you, Richard. Good afternoon, delegates of Region 1. Thank you for taking the time this beautiful June Saturday to come to the caucus. I'm Francis Wendt, and I want to take a few minutes to tell you why I am the best choice for Region 1 representative. I've been active in the Libertarian Party leadership since 2016. I'm currently serving as the LNC Region 1 alternate since I was elected by the state chairs in December of 2019. I served as the chair of Montana Libertarian Party from 2018 to 2019, and then as the Montana political director until earlier this year. I've been strongly committed to this party and its principles since formally becoming a member in 2011. But a political party is not about one person. It is about sharing a dream and a vision for what our future might look like. With that in mind, I've asked several prominent members within the region to share with you how I have interacted with them over my years of service to this party. I specifically have not coached them what to say because as we are a party that believes in individual rights, I want them to speak from their unique perspectives. So please, let me introduce Montana delegate, longtime libertarian activist, and candidate for Montana State Auditor, Roger Roots.
All right, Francis. Yes, I strongly support Francis for Region 1 rep. I've known him, I don't even know how many years now. I don't always agree with him. In fact, I frequently disagree with him on policy issues within the party, but he is a pure libertarian in the classic sense. And the one thing I would stress is he works well with everyone, and he has grown the Montana party unbelievably. We now are setting records for numbers of candidates for office, libertarian candidates for office in Montana. We are at or near all-time records in every category. We're doing well, even votes. In Montana, our vote totals last election cycle were better than almost any other state in terms of our percentages. And a lot of that is due to Francis Wendt. He is a great membership driver, and he's done so much work. He knows the bylaws very well, even better than me, and I've been in the party many years. And I strongly urge a vote for Francis Wendt. Again, I don't always agree with him, but he's a great organizer, and he's got lots of work ethic.
Thank you, Roger. Next, Utah delegate, former chair of the Utah Libertarian Party, and 2018 LP target candidate, Amber Christensen Beltran.
Thank you, Francis. And I just wanted to share my experience in working with Francis. He has been a huge support to me when I was the chair of the Utah Libertarian Party. I reached out to him and asked for help in recruiting candidates, and he helped me call several candidates. I sent him a list of names and he helped call them. Unfortunately, many of the numbers were disconnected, but still that was so helpful because it helped me get through the list and get down to who I could reach out more specifically. And so he has done a great job in assisting with candidate recruitment and being great at giving me advice and a wonderful listening ear. when I decided that I was going to step down as Utah chair, I also reached out to Francis, and he helped me develop a plan and talk through. And he was a really great support to me in helping in that transition. The other thing that meant a lot to me with working with Francis is when I was chairing the Utah Libertarian Party convention this year. Francis attended over Zoom, but I forgot to formally acknowledge him. And he didn't throw a fit about it. He was very, when I reached out to him afterwards and apologized profusely and just told him, I got so caught up in the convention and I forgot. He said, "Don't you worry, Amber, it was your convention." And that just meant a lot to me, because I think a lot of people in the Libertarian Party, they can be a little defensive, and I've never encountered that with Francis. And so that means a lot to me, and it's always been a pleasure to work with him.
Thank you, Amber. Next, Colorado delegate, vice chair of the Libertarian Party of Colorado, and candidate for the Regional Transportation District Board of Directors in the 2020 November election, Eric Mulder.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Francis. My name is Eric Mulder. I'm the vice chair of the Libertarian Party of Colorado. I just first want to open up with the fact that we have so many wonderful candidates vying for the Region 1 representative seat is a testament to the fact that our party is right on the ideas of free markets in both terms of economics and in ideas. And in the free market of ideas, I believe that Francis Went embraces that ideology perfectly, and I believe that that would make him one of the best representatives to represent Region 1. Francis and I had a difference of understanding on an issue that came up during our 2020 primary to nominate our Libertarian candidate. And Francis made himself available to me. We were able to have a 10 to 20 minute phone conversation. We were able to clear the air, and Francis completely respected where I was coming from. He was able to articulate his own views in a professional and concise manner. We were able to talk through our differences, work through them, set them aside, and continue to work on building up this party. Francis has done that work in supporting the Frontier Project, which is getting candidates to run for office in districts all across the country that could be very fruitful for this party. I believe in the free market of ideas, and I believe that Francis embodies that as well. And he's done a great job so far as our Region 1 alternate, and I would like him to continue the work as our Region 1 representative. So I thank every candidate for running, and I believe that Francis is the one who can make Region 1 absolutely excel in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Next, Colorado delegate, chairman of the Libertarian Party of Colorado, and candidate for Douglas County Commissioner, Victoria Reynolds.
I am honored to speak on Francis Went's behalf, even though he was one of the people who actually talked me into running an actual campaign and putting a lot more work than I wanted to into the campaign. Francis has done nothing short of an amazing job as Region 1 alternate. He has shown professionalism, leadership, selflessness, and a true commitment to liberty. He has done things the right way by first becoming an alternate and learning what it takes to do the job. He's brought people together even when they had very, very different opinions, mine included. Francis has listened to the voices of the region. He has been in constant communication with me. He's been in constant communication with the state chairs, and he's reached out to the delegates and to the membership of the different states. He is someone who puts together, he puts his own opinions and his own self aside and decides what to do for liberty, what is best for the region, what is best for the party. He has been accountable and transparent in his votes. He thinks of liberty and is willing to put aside his own opinions. And for these reasons, I believe that choosing anyone other than Francis Went to be the Region 1 representative would be a huge mistake. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Victoria. Next, Nevada delegate, Nevada Libertarian Party treasurer, and National LP treasurer, and candidate for Nevada State Senate, Tim Hagan.
Thanks. In addition to serving as treasurer and chair of the Montana Party, as already mentioned, Francis stepped in to become the current alternate after the previous alternate resigned and was able to finish up this term. And anybody who's been watching the LNC these past couple of months has probably seen how some of the debates lately can deteriorate badly. Well, Francis is engaged with LNC and gets his points across while still remaining respectful and professional in our debates. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. And my last speaker, Montana Delegate, Montana Libertarian Party Chair, and City Councilman in Kalispell, Montana, Sid Dowd.
Hey, everybody. Francis was the chair of the Montana State Libertarian Party directly before me. He led well and he coordinated party operations very successfully. Francis currently serves as the Montana Libertarian Party treasurer and Region 1 alternate. Francis commits to hard work and has been my most dependable right hand in the Montana Libertarian Party. Francis has an eye for detail and will execute all tasks. He has a knack for organization and relates that skill by sharing effective data, such as preparing spreadsheets, charts, and graphs. At the LNC, Francis is committed to getting libertarians elected and growing our party. Francis is serious about representing each state and each member. And the biggest qualification for me is Francis and I have had many direct and no bullshit discussions. He'll tell it like it is. Thank you.
All right. And with that, Mr. Wendt, your time is expired by.
All right. Thank you so much.
You're muted, Richard.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So at this point, guys, thank you, Mr. Wendt. Mr. Lucchini will go ahead with your 10 minutes and they will begin when you begin. And the floor is yours, sir.
All right, thank you. So I've been a lifelong libertarian. I registered as a libertarian at 18. Never been anything but that. Have been active off and on and pretty much on continuously since 2015. I am currently the chair of New Mexico Libertarian Party and have learned a lot about how to manage and lead libertarians, which is different than leading other groups. We're a contentious lot and we believe firmly in the principles that we have, which leads to conflict. But there are professional and dispassionate ways of dealing with that. And that's something I think I've done very effectively. I've grown the party here. Our registrations have almost doubled in the last 3 years. Our state organization has gotten considerably larger. We have over 100 paid members now. We have, now we're running 25 candidates. We elected 5 candidates in 2019 to state office across the state. We ran less than basically 9 candidates in 2018 when I had just started as chair. So we're on an upward trajectory. I was doing my own frontier project when I found out about the official one and went to Cheyenne and met with the frontier people there. I do firmly believe that this is one of the best ways to spread the message of liberty and get people involved and active, to get people involved in both their local organization and at the national level, and to get them to join and financially support both of those, the state and the national party. National party has got financial challenges, and that's something that we're going to have to deal with. Whoever is the representative is going to have to deal with. I've been asked a number of times, am I a member of any of the caucuses? And the answer is no, and that's a deliberate choice. When I became chair, I was asked to join various caucuses. Caucuses by definition are divisive. And as in a leadership role, I don't believe that it's appropriate to align with a particular caucus. They all bring something to the party, and it's, I think, a useful thing to have those caucuses so that people can identify with their passions. What's been going on with the LNC this year has disturbed a lot of people. It's why a number of people reached out and asked me to run for this office, to be able to bring a dispassionate, professional manner to the LNC. I think that many of the people that are running would do the same. In terms of communications, one of the things that I would like to do probably a little bit different this time is communicate not only with the state chairs, but also communicate with the activists in all the states. And that pretty much starts with a list of delegates. So be able to both, be open to communication with those delegates, the current delegates and activists that come up over the next few years, but not just listen to them passively, but actually reach out and actually ask their opinions on how things should go and where the emphasis should go. There are many different ways to grow the Libertarian Party. Running candidates is a fantastic one, in my opinion. There are other people that want to do activism, that want to do public demonstrations to propose laws. I have a lot of people who want to get into the area of actually writing prototype legislation. All of these things are fantastic, and all these people need support from national, where those resources exist. So in terms of meetings, I'm my own boss. I run my own companies. I have no problem attending meetings anywhere and won't have any conflicts in that regard. So finally, one of the things here that has been touched on is the finances. And we need to look at both the outgo and the income that comes into national LP. I've personally was recruiting something on the order of 1 to 2 LP members a week back before COVID happened, simply by talking to people and convincing them to get on their phones and punch those digits in and actually join and support. And reaching out to people who had been LP members and getting them to join as well. It's something that all of us need to do, and certainly I think as a leadership position in the LNC, it's one of the primary duties to make sure that we have the income necessary to support our activities. In conclusion, I'd appreciate your vote, and if I don't get it, that's okay too. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lucchini. All right, folks, so at this time, I've seen a number of questions asked in the Q&A or in the chat area. We were not intending to do a Q&A just because of the time constraints that are associated with this. So what we will do is we will go ahead and begin the first ballot. If the candidates want to scroll through and answer those questions directly by sending private messages or public comments during the voting period, we certainly can. I would like Mr. Fishman, if you could, to go ahead and send out the ballot. And once I confirm that I have it, we will begin a timer for 15 minutes to allow those ballots to be cast and make sure that they hit everybody's email boxes. Are there any concerns about that procedure? All right, seeing no concerns, Mr. Fishman, do you have the ballot prepared?
The ballot should be arriving in email boxes momentarily.
Excuse me, Richard?
Yes.
This is Michael Cordova, delegate. I was just curious of where we're deriving the authority to hold an election outside a convention.
The regional agreement by the state chairs authorized this sort of meeting in order to elect. And so it is an agreement from all of the state chairs of Region 1.
Okay, are we under Robert's rules at this time, or?
No, we are not. This is a general meeting, caucus, and election, that's all.
And if any first person to tell me that they got their ballot, I will send more cake to.
Well, I don't want to claim the cake, but Mr. Fishman, I do have my ballot.
All right.
I got it here.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, so we will begin the time. I show 2:46 and 54 seconds. We'll start it at 2:47 for 15 minutes. So voting on this ballot will elapse at 3:02 Pacific time. So please receive your ballot and let us know if there are errors, and everybody is on standby until then.
And
yeah, this is Jason in Nevada. I just clicked the link and it says online voting tool and election. This ballot doesn't seem to exist. Contact your election administrator.
Could you try just logging out, clearing your cookies and logging in again, following the link? Richard, were you able to get in through and vote?
This is Barry. I got in.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Just
This is just me being petty. Nevada delegate Liz Del Signore, you did spell Lucchini's name wrong.
I am so sorry. It's the Italian in me.
This is Emily Goldberg, Arizona delegate. I got the same ballot doesn't seem to exist error message too.
Can you try, there's a log out and then log back in with your access key and password that you got in your email, and you should have a next vote ballot in front of you.
Okay.
I had the same problem, and then I realized that my computer had stored a previous password. If you go and check the email that you were just sent and make sure you're using the latest.
Exactly. Yeah. If you used Election Buddy in previous conventions or previous other places, you have to make sure that it's the right one that I sent you this time. It didn't store your access key.
So we're using access key that's given, not what pops up.
Yes, not what's popped up. It should be the one that's in your email.
Gotcha. Okay, it worked. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you guys, whoever it was who mentioned how they debugged it the first time. I owe you cake.
I collect cake. That's good.
All right.
Is it the same cake that Nick was eating?
I don't know. I didn't see what cake Nick was eating.
There's a person, James Clayton, in the waiting room. I don't recognize him.
Mr. Bowden is raising his hand. Is he available to speak?
Everybody can unmute themselves.
Just making sure.
For a few of the latecomers who are added, if you could rename yourself with your first name being the first two letters of your postal code and then D or A for delegate and alternate. I see Fred from New Mexico, James Clayton, John Bowen, and John Heersma. If you guys could rename yourselves, that would help us identify which delegation you're with. Although I grant you, Fred from New Mexico is pretty clear.
It's Emily again. Inputting that separate password does not change the error message.
Can you?
Excuse me. This
Yes.
is Elizabeth Nolan. I don't seem to have a ballot.
All right, let me make sure that you have one first. Emily, do you by any chance have a different browser on your computer, one that you don't normally use?
Nope.
No.
I had to clear my cookies back for 4 weeks to make it work.
Oh my God. Okay.
Well, what browser do you use?
Edge.
Edge. I have no idea. I'm sorry. If you had a Chrome or Safari, I would just say open it up in private mode.
If there's a private mode or an incognito mode, that will automatically clear your cookies for that browsing session, and it should work. But I do not know if Edge has that functionality.
Edge is just a reskin Chromium.
Right, but the question is, in the skin, does it have incognito mode?
Yeah, if you go up to the top and you right click on one of the tabs, there should be a like open incognito or private tab.
All right, now I am looking up Elizabeth Nolan. Hang on one second.
I am also looking up the email that I received from Howard because I believe Miss Nolan was mentioned in that as not being a delegate for these purposes.
You're having an issue with one of our delegates. Can I just message you their result?
Yes.
Richard, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
she
one
is.
of our delegates. Can I just message you their result?
She is.
Yes. Richard, thank you.
Dan.
Yeah, Howard.
Dan. Elizabeth. Yes, she is.
Somebody's got. All right, let's mute everybody real quick.
She is.
Richard, thank you.
Dan.
Yeah, Howard. We have a terrible loop somewhere. Somebody's got, all right, let's mute everybody. It's Howard. All right, hang on one second. So Howard said that Elizabeth is supposed to be a voter. That's fine. I can add people in. Elizabeth, can you tell me, please, your email address? Yep.
TWILLEYNOLAN
Yep.
at gmail.com. That's etwillynolan at gmail.com.
Got it.
Thank you.
You should have a ballot coming to you now. Emily, I want to know if you'd gotten things to work in
Oh, I'm dead
incognito
in the
mode.
water.
Dead in the water. Let me see how to make incognito.
Emily,
Did you figure out
if-
how to make incognito work in Edge?
Emily, would it be possible for you to just message me your votes directly through Messenger?
If you didn't mind, that's perfectly fine.
I'll go ahead and I don't want to do that obviously for everybody, but you're not the only person who is having some issues. So I will manually add those to the tallies as well. And I know you're on the list, so go ahead and send me your votes if you could.
Thank
Yep.
you.
For the next one, under settings, I just looked it up. It's called in private browsing in Microsoft Edge. And under the three dots on the right-hand side, let me pop open Edge.
Time remaining. I am showing it is currently 2:54 and a half. So round up to 2:55. There are approximately 7 to 7.5 minutes remaining. So we are halfway through. If you are still having technical issues, please continue to communicate those. And I will announce.
Just quickly, I'm going to, Howard, you're sharing your screen for some reason. I'm going to share my screen and show how to start an in private thing for Edge.
I don't know why that is.
So on the top right-hand side, you guys can see my screen, see these three dots? That's settings and more, and click new in private window. And that will make an anonymous thing that will have lost all of your cookies. And then paste the link in, use your username and password, and you'll be able to vote correctly for the next election. To report on the current progress, 90 ballots have been submitted so far. There are still 3 that have been opened, but nobody's voted. They haven't voted yet, considering their vote.
I think one of those is ours, Dan. So disregard one of those.
All right.
Okay, this is Elizabeth Nolan. I'm still trying to get in.
All right. I do see that it was sent to you. Did you get the email?
Yes, but it said I couldn't, it was unable to open it.
When you opened it, did it take you to the Election Buddy page?
Yes.
And did you put in, cut and paste from your email? Obviously, your email address is what you use to log in, and then cut and paste that access key. Don't take whatever it put in there for you.
Will do. Thank you.
Yep. And then if that doesn't work, let us know. And then Richard, since you're doing the tabulation, do you want me to send you the results from here and you can put everything together? Do you want me to show these?
That would be great, actually, if that's an easy thing to do rather than having to read it. Yeah, I'll just
That is an
compile.
easy thing for me to do.
And it appears that we have about 3.5 minutes remaining, 3.5 minutes until 3:02. If you are still having technical issues, please communicate those.
I'm still having that same error.
What browser are you using on your phone?
Safari.
It's probably going to be easier. Again, I don't know how Safari on the phone works with it. If there's a way to clear all your cookies and try to log in again, what is the error that you're getting? No election showing? That not a valid election?
Yeah, correct.
Did you use this during the Oregon didn't use election buddy for the national convention? At least I don't think you did. So you've never used it before. The best thing I would say is communicate your votes to Richard as well. Mobile is, I can't guarantee the mobile experience, unfortunately.
Okay, well, can I communicate them to Carolyn Wade?
Sure, I don't care who it is to.
Yeah, if you can communicate them to Carolyn, have Carolyn send them to me, that would be more than fine.
Carolyn, is that okay with you? Sorry, I'm just limited.
She's nodding yes.
Okay, I'm limited in my here because I'm driving and I don't want to have to try to alter my settings in order to get this through. So thank you.
Right.
Of
Yep.
course. All right. Thanks, Carolyn. I'll email. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
All right, I show 3:01 at this point Pacific time, 1 minute remaining on balloting. Please get those communicated to me. And then I have received Montana's ballots, but still need Alaska. So if John, if you could message me when that is ready.
On the way.
And Carolyn, once you receive Gabriel's vote, if you can pass that, thank you.
I've gotten his message that he's getting the voting error. Got it.
Very good. And you can send that Facebook or forward the email, whichever you prefer. All right, I do show 3:02. We can go ahead and close the ballots. Mr. Fishman, are there any open that have not voted that you think may still cast? Do we need more time or do you think we're good?
I think we are good. I'm going to close this. We have 94 ballots submitted.
Okay, very good.
So I'm closing it. I had set it up so that when I close it, people will be able to see the results of the election buddy thing. But remember that there are still the manual tabulations that Mr. Longstreth will be adding into these afterwards. And I'll message those to you on Facebook, Richard.
Thank you. So I have received Alaska's votes.
Sent.
Okay, very good.
So guys, just because we've had a couple of inadvertent screen shares, I've turned off screen sharing. If you need to screen share, let me know and I'll turn it back on.
Dan, I have a delegate who said they got bumped and they're getting that 100 member limit message again, if you could check on that.
Who is it?
It's Craig Bowden.
He was just in a second ago. All right, ask him to try now.
Will do.
And technically, we were supposed to be good for 500, but I've never seen us go over 100. So hopefully that is not the problem.
Pretty good show for a region.
This is very good. I think it's the promise of cake that brings people out.
Let them eat cake.
What are the potential? What's the potential number of delegates for this region?
There are 200 delegates, I believe.
I have 165 listed as eligible to vote based on not counting, that's not counting the states that aren't using election buddy. There could have been, I sent out 165 email ballots.
I apologize. The 200 number is the total number of eligible delegates.
Right. Well, and I remember I'm missing the 2 states that aren't using election buddy. So there are certainly more than that, more than the 165.
Perfect. Okay, I lost internet access there temporarily. I'm not sure what happened. Dan, I just want to confirm we had 94 ballots in election buddy. Is that correct?
That is correct. 94 ballots submitted in election buddy.
Okay, Montana submitted 6. Is that correct, Sid?
Say it again.
Did you all have 6 people voting?
Correct.
Okay, and how many voted from Alaska, John?
4.
4. That's what I thought. Just wanted to make sure. So 104 ballots were cast, which means that for a person to receive a majority, they must receive 52 ballots. According to our agreement, that's what it takes to pass. The totals
I believe it would be 53. Is that correct?
53. Yes, thank you. I'm sorry, 53 ballots. So the results from least number of votes to most number of votes are Noda received 11 votes. Mr. Bowden received 20 votes. Mr. Flores received 30 votes. Mr. Lucchini received 45 votes. And Mr. Wendt received 55 votes and will be the new elected regional representative. So congratulations to Mr. Wendt. Well done. And to our other people who are going for the seat. What I need to know is if you are interested in pursuing the alternate roles. So we'll just go through alphabetically. Mr. Bowden, will you be interested in pursuing the alternate role? Mr. Bowden?
Mr. Bowden has been having technical difficulties, if you recall.
Okay.
He is in the room. He's, I don't know. It doesn't seem if he is, seems he's in the room, but his audio is not working.
We'll circle back to him. We'll circle back to him. Yeah. So Mr. Bowden, if you can message me if you're available, or if you can hear us, just unmute and let us know. Let's see. We have Mr. Flores. Mr. Flores, will you be interested in running for alternate?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Lucchini, are you interested in running for alternate?
Yes.
Okay.
Richard?
Yes.
This is Barry. I'm in touch with Craig. He said, yes, he is interested.
All right, very good. So with that, folks, we have Mr. Hellman, who is also self-nominated. All three of our not prevailing candidates for representative are also interested in alternate. We will follow the same format that we did before. To start that off with, are there any other nominations for alternate at this time?
Just to be clear, that's David Hellman from Arizona?
Correct, that is correct.
All right.
All right, I'm not seeing any other nominations coming forward. I am admiring, however, Mr. Perkins' gas mask. I quite enjoy that and wish I had one on my own. And excuse me, it's not a gas mask, it is a plague mask.
Bro.
Very, very nice. Props to him for that. So what we will do for the alternate speeches is same format. You can have up to 10 minutes per candidate. We will first begin with a 6-sided die for our 4 candidates. If we roll a 5 or a 6, we will re-roll to see who speaks first. So we will go ahead and roll now. Mr. Flores will be number 1. Mr. Hellman will be number 2. Excuse me, Mr. Bowden will be number 1. Mr. Flores number 2. Mr. Hellman number 3, and Mr. Lucchini number 4. And going first, we rolled a 1. So if Mr. Bowden is available, has he made it back into the room?
He was in, but without a mic for some reason, so he went out and he's going to come back in.
Okay, we will go ahead and re-roll. Actually, that is him coming in now, so let me go ahead and admit him.
I admitted him.
Very good. Give him just a moment.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Point of personal privilege. There's a number of folks in the room who whose names need to be updated to the proper format so that we know who they are.
Yes, as a reminder, if you have come into the room or left and come back into the room, you may need to rename yourself. Observe the format that everybody has with their state abbreviation followed by a D or an A indicating delegate or alternate. And if you could update your name accordingly, that would be very much appreciated. So can I get a list of them? Yes.
To update your name, click on yourself in the participants, choose more and choose rename.
Let's see, Mr. Snoy has said that vote totals were not correct on the first vote, but they were what I received from the state chairs combined with the election buddy counts. So I will say that that is correct, unless Mr. Snoy, you have something that you are aware of that I am not. I'd be interested to hear what you have to say. It was 50%. It was 55 votes for Mr. Wentz, which crossed that 53 vote threshold.
I think the confusion is on approval voting.
Okay, so the way approval voting works is everybody votes for as many candidates as they like. So that is, okay, yes, Mr. Snoy, I'll be happy to. So the way approval voting works is you, each person may vote for as many people as they like or as few as they like. And then whoever receives the most number of votes is the presumed winner. And in our case, that requires a majority threshold. And so in this case, Mr. Went did receive that majority threshold amongst the votes. And so I am writing that up now in a easy to digest looking format, and I will share the vote totals.
Could you clarify regarding the denominator? Is it the number of votes or the number of voters?
Number of ballots cast, so number of voters. And we had 104 that participated. All right, so there were the vote totals in the chat. All right, so where we are at is we have our alternates. We have closed nominations. Those nominees, for just as a review, Mr. Bowden, Craig Bowden, Alex Flores, David Hellman, and Chris Lucchini are our candidates for alternate. In the random dice roll, Mr. Bowden came out as the first person to be allowed to speak for the alternate role. Is Mr. Bowden ready?
He got bounced again. We're trying to get him right back in.
Fantastic. We will go ahead and roll for somebody else then, just to keep this moving along. And I rolled a 4. So Mr. Lucchini, if you are available, we will go ahead and begin with you.
Well, you all heard my speech before. I don't have much to add other than in the alternate role, obviously your role is to support the representative, as well as to pretty much do everything they do except vote, unless they're absent. So certainly I can more than happy to do that. And I think I'm certainly qualified to crack the whip and get things done. So that's all I have.
Outstanding. All right, very quick. Thank you, Mr. Lucchini. We will now go ahead and roll again. Mr. Bowden will be the die roll of 1 or 2. Mr. Flores a 3 or 4, and Mr. Hellman will be 5 or 6. The die has rolled a 2. Is Mr. Bowden back in the room and available?
I'm not sure what's going on here, Richard. It's in.
It's okay.
A microphone showing.
It's all right.
Richard?
Yes, Amber.
If you look in the chat, Alex Flores made a post. I don't know if you had seen that about the nomination. So.
Oh, okay. And it does appear that Mr. Flores has declined the nomination for alternate, in case others had not seen that or they are streaming on YouTube. So he will be removed from the list of candidates. Thank you, Amber. I missed that. That is a great idea, Mr. Graham, in chat. Barry, would it be possible to get a hold of Mr. Bowden on the phone and see if we can get him to communicate with us via that means if he's having technical issues?
I say on the email that I sent, there also are dial-in numbers.
So would you like him to call the dial-in number?
That would be a good option as well. Yes.
Okay.
I have received a message about some of the things in my background. This is a casual office, and no, those are not stacks of cash behind me. For those of you that think that I am that wealthy, I appreciate that, but no, I am not anywhere near that wealthy. That is actually literature for tabling events from one of the caucuses that I am involved in. So that is what that is.
Wait, what? Serving on the LNC is not a path to millions?
No, unfortunately, it is not, Mr. Fishman. All right. While we wait for Mr. Bowden to attempt to dial in, Mr. Hellman, if you are prepared, we will go ahead with your remarks and then give Mr. Bowden one more opportunity after you are wrapped up, if you are available.
Yeah, I'm available. I'll go.
All right. Go ahead whenever you are ready, sir.
All right, thank you. My name is David Hellman. I am a legal clerk from Arizona who just graduated from ASU with my master's degree in justice studies. I'm a delegate to the National Convention, and I also serve as the whip for the Libertarian Pragmatist Caucus. I joined the Libertarian Party back in 2016, which was the first presidential election I was eligible to vote in, and I immediately got involved. I created the Youth for Johnson Weld chapter at ASU, which we later turned into a college libertarian student group, which gave the Libertarian Party on-campus representation at the largest university in the nation for the first time in history. I'm proud to say that over the next 3 years, we grew from 6 members to over 150 members, and we're going to continue to grow. My number one job as the region alternate would be to support Francis Wendt in whatever way I'm asked to do so, and I'd be more than happy to do exactly that. However, I believe there are also some ways to use my role as an alternate to bring about positive change and growth, which leads me to the 3 goals that I'm running on. First, I want to prioritize fundraising and donor outreach. I've taken the pledge that newly elected Region 5 Rep. Susan Hogarth and alternate David Valente have proposed, which does just this. I want to help create and sustain a network of donors, both for the party and individual candidates, so that we can better plan for electoral success. In Region 1 specifically, we already have something similar with the Incredible Frontier Project, which I support wholeheartedly. Second, I want to develop a youth presence throughout the region. As I mentioned, I created a college libertarian student group at ASU, but I found that there's not many of those elsewhere. In the interest of helping to build for the future of our party, I want to work on getting contacts in the college and high school areas within our region with the goal of building similar student groups. This will help bring more young people into the party and significantly impact our voter base going forward. And finally, I want to digitally connect our region. I think the impacts from COVID-19 have shown that we can use technology to bring people together without having to be in the same physical space. And I would like to create more digital networking events for all of our region members to get to know each other better, share our resources, debate the issues, and work together. I think this would be a particularly great way to integrate and embrace our newest state, Nevada, which I'm very excited to see joining our region. I can't promise that I will be able to accomplish each of these goals, as I can't predict what the future will hold, but I can make the promise and commitment that I will do my absolute best to make these goals a reality. I believe we're at a crucial turning point in our country, and now is the time to grow this party more than ever before. I will work tirelessly to make that happen, whether or not you choose me as your next alternate, but having that title will significantly help those efforts. With that, I humbly ask for your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Bowden is in now. Did we lose Mr. Longstreth? Okay.
Yep, I appreciate that, Mr. Hellman, for those comments. Mr. Bowden, if you are available, you are authorized 10 minutes to talk to us once again about why you feel you are the best candidate for alternate. So if you're ready, you may begin.
I see Mr. Bowden dialed in.
I have unmuted you, Mr. Bowden. Are you able to speak with us?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
We can. Mr. Bowden, you are welcome to go ahead and begin, and I will start the timer. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll keep it short and sweet. I do apologize for the issues that I've had. My wife decided that she needed to go visit her mom, and we're in a spotty location. So, but I will just echo everything that I said earlier when I was under nomination for the regional representative. I have walked a mile in the alternate shoes and do understand what the job entails, and will fully support Francis. Congratulations, by the way, Francis, on taking that, and just hope that everybody will choose to let me continue in the role that I wasn't able to fulfill back in 2018. Would certainly appreciate it. And that's all I've got.
Outstanding. All right, very good. All right, so there we go. So those are our candidates for alternates. Again, that was Craig Bowden, David Hellman, and Chris Lucchini. Of course, Noda will be on the ballot as well. Mr. Fishman, do you have that ballot prepared?
The ballot is prepared. Here it goes. The one caveat I want to give is Ms. Nolan, because I added you manually last time, please make sure you put in the, you're going to get a new access key in your email. Everybody else, same access key. You might see a thing that says next vote already if you didn't log out, but your ballot should be in your email. You click on it, you should be good to go. And
I can confirm that I have received my ballot, so we will go ahead and begin our 15-minute timer. We will round up to the next minute of 3:23, so we will stop at 3:38 Pacific time. Please go ahead and vote now, and if you have technical issues, please communicate those.
Hey, Liz, after I smoke, we can go. After I smoke, we can go.
I'm going to mute Mr. Bowden. But I am wearing a shirt I have to show.
Gabriel? You gonna send me something?
Yeah, I'm in an area that I'm having pretty bad service. Let me check. I'll try to resend it.
Okay.
In case it doesn't go through, same
Same
as
before?
previous.
Okay. Why
Thank
don't I
you.
just do that?
Excellent, thank you.
That's easy for me then. I've already received his vote.
We currently have 76 ballots submitted. The election, buddy. I see Mr. Montoni in the chat is lobbying to be the notice speaker for the convention for chair and vice chair and every other position. Those are my favorite notice speeches.
I do have to say, Mr. Montoni gives quite impressive notice speeches. If you would ever like Noda to be a candidate, Mr. Montoni will tell you all of the benefits that Mr. Noda brings. They are quite extensive. Mr.
Noda?
Buckley.
How do we gender Noda?
They and them.
Yeah.
Richard,
I'm the Z.
I sent you a ballot that was, thank you. I sent you a ballot.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Pizzell.
86 ballots cast in Election Buddy so far. 8 short of our total last time. Mr. Buckley asked a question. It's the order of the speakers.
Yes, the order of the speakers in this case were Mr. Lucchini, then Mr. Hellman, then Mr. Bowden.
And just to remind everybody that everybody's ballot has the candidates listed in a different order. Mr. Longstreth, after the meeting is adjourned, would you mind if I addressed the body for 1 minute?
That would be fine with me. Yes.
Thank you.
Right. I'm not sure if I announced it, but I have received Montana's ballot. Still waiting on Alaska's, and we still have roughly, oh no, I do have Alaska's as well. And we have approximately, looks like about 10 minutes remaining.
We have 89 voted submitted online.
Okay.
Actually, if you want, I can do my 1 minute now instead of
yeah, that'd be fine.
With Phil. So just thank you all for the privilege of being here and letting me administer and do a little bit of the technical side of things. It's always a pleasure for me to be among libertarians. And I have an ask of you guys. It now more than ever, our voice is so critical, and there are few of us. It is critical that we take care of ourselves and take care of each other. And I know this is a time where it's easy for people to think, you know what, I'm just going to do what I want and stuff like that. Be smart, be safe. The party needs you. We need every person in this room. And so I'm just here to make a simple request that you please take as good care of yourselves and we take care of each other, because the country needs our voice. That's it. Simple request. We have no more open ballots. 89 of the 94 last time submitted. Just letting you know.
Yep. So we are supposed to have about another 7.5 minutes or so. Let's in 2 minutes see if any more ballots have been opened. And if not, I will assume that everybody that has wanted to vote will have voted at that time, since I received ballots from everybody else that I did.
One more just came in.
Oh, there we go. That's why we keep it open.
Yep. Open up now. I've got 3 more opened. So I appreciate the people who are waiting to the end, weighing the decisions, the balance scale with 3 people, actually 4, Noda.
Mr. Perkins, I'm going to rule your amendment to the regional agreement out of order at this time. However, if we, when we meet in person, if you would like to do that, we can talk about it.
There's always a counter thing. Somebody wants to be potentate. However, they could also be nominated for impotentate. Sorry, terrible pun.
And as we continue to wrap up, I apologize. I was a little distracted combining vote totals in my spreadsheet before, but I do want to say I want to extend thanks to Mr. Fishman for helping us with this. My technical prowess on this while trying to do the elections and that sort of thing, this would have been a very different situation without his help. So thank you, Mr. Fishman. I truly appreciate it. You're doing a phenomenal job, and I appreciate the resources that you are spending, whether it's time or otherwise, just to help us get through this and support the party.
Always my pleasure. Mr. Longstreth, have you cast a vote yet?
I started to, but I may not have actually submitted. Let's take a look at if I got the confirmation or not.
I show that you've opened it, but you did not submit.
Well, thank you for that, and give me just one moment.
Yep.
All right, that should solve that.
Indeed.
I'm showing that we have approximately 5-ish minutes remaining. So we are still open. Our vote's still coming in, Mr. Fishman.
Well, I'm skewed because it tells me that there was a vote in the last minute. So
okay. Well, we will continue to pause then, and
as you know, we have 92 of the 94 from the last time, but I can't tell you who those last 2 are.
Mr. Heyman asks, is Nevada officially one of us? And I would note for all of Region 1 the correct way to pronounce that word, please. And wants to know if we have a hazing ritual for them. The answers to those questions are they are not officially one of us until the close of the 2020 convention. However, what we are electing are the 2020 to 2022 representatives. And so they are officially allowed to vote in this as we gear up. And do we have a hazing ritual? None that would be able to be talked about publicly, as hazing is illegal and frowned upon in many, many circles. And what happens behind closed doors, I know nothing about. So I think you would have quite the fight with Mr. Hagan and Jason and the other delegates from Nevada if you were to try to haze them. However, I would not.
Can we
Actually,
do shots?
let me clarify. If there's any hazing that involves gin, my vice chair is more than capable of handling that.
I thought most coronavirus haircuts were actually forms of hazing. So
well, that is, yes, as you can see. Yeah, absolutely. All right, I am showing roughly about another 2.5 minutes left on our 15-minute window for voting. If you have not voted yet, please do so sooner rather than later.
I'm going to send you the totals that I have right now, and if anything changes, then
we will go from there. I like it. Yep. Thank you.
I have one more ballot that just came in. I'll send it to you, send you the answer. I'm changing that.
Thank you. Okay, I did receive that. And we are in the last few seconds of our voting, folks. It looks like we've got about 30 seconds here, and we will be closing the ballots for the Region 1 alternate. Let's see, how many ballots were cast through election, buddy, at this point, Mr. Fishman?
93. And I just want to commend you guys. That's an astonishing return rate. I did another regional one, and the drop off from delegate to alternate was much more severe. So well done.
All right, we are going to go ahead and call voting closed at this point. Have the numbers changed outside of the one vote you sent me, Mr. Fishman?
They are the same.
They are the same. Outstanding. All right. So let me write out. We do have a winner, and I will order these lowest to highest, paste them in the chat, and then I will read them out loud for those not in the chat. All right, so we do have a winner, and the results are as follows, and I will post them in the chat as I read them. Noda received 11 votes. Mr. Bowden received 21 votes. Mr. Hellman received 45 votes, and Mr. Lucchini received 53 votes. We did have 100 and hold on. We did have 106 people participating in this ballot, which means you need to receive a majority to be elected, which means you would have needed 54. So I misspoke. We will have to do another round of this.
I think, Mr. Longstreth, I think you read the election buddy totals only.
You are correct. You're right, I did. Let me update those real quick. That was wrong. I will post the correct totals. I apologize for that.
No problem.
Noda was at 11. Mr. Bowden was at 27. Mr. Hellman actually had 49 votes. My eyes jumped on my spreadsheet. And Mr. Lucchini had 57 votes, meaning that Mr. Lucchini has been elected to the alternate role. Here are the correct vote totals. I apologize for that. So congratulations to Mr. Lucchini and again to Mr. Wendt on being our 2020 through 2022 representative and alternate. Would either of you like to say any words before we wrap up our meeting? No, it doesn't look like it.
I'll just say a little bit. First of all, I want to thank everyone for taking the time to come to this caucus and to cast your vote. The LNC it's a beast. And I am looking forward to working with Chris on how we can best accomplish that and get what we need accomplished here in Region 1. So I'll be contacting him and I will be working with the state chairs and just look for more to come. If you need to get a hold of me, please do so. I am open to all members. I am open to all communications. And as a team, we can get a better party moving forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you all for the vote. I appreciate it. I will be doing my level best to push our party forward. And if as soon as this is over, I'm going to go back to my previous task, which is preparing a lawsuit against the Secretary of State. So look for that on Monday. And I have lots more spreadsheets to work on. Thank you all.
Outstanding. And I just want to say congratulations again to you both. I think that you both will do an outstanding job representing our region, and I'm glad to have you both enroll. So congratulations once again to everybody else. As a reminder, our in-person convention is scheduled July 9th through 12th in Orlando, Florida at the Rosin Hotel. It is currently still scheduled despite whatever rumors or debates you may have heard out there. Things are always in flux given our COVID world today. However, I did even during this meeting receive questions as to is it on or is it not. As of right this moment, it is on. So if you plan on attending, there is your answer. Outside of that, folks, thank you. This could have been a very painful process, and it didn't have to be. And it is in thanks large part to you all and the state chairs for doing an amazing job and helping this go very smoothly. So thank you. It has been truly an honor to serve as your Region 1 representative. I know that I have not always agreed with everybody all of the times, and that's okay. I feel like I think it's important that there are some disagreements, and that's how we as a region and as a party continue to grow. And I appreciate your support for the last 2 years. I hope to have your support to be the next vice chair of the LNC. And if not, I still look forward to interacting with you and hearing your ideas on how we can grow the party. So thank you all once again, and have a wonderful rest of your Saturday. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.
That means you're all free to go.
Thanks, guys. I'm going to close the meeting room.
Thank you, Dan.
Take care of yourselves.
Or it even and it didn't block.
LNC.
Thank you, Richard.
If not, I still look forward to interacting with you and hearing